Big LEZ'S League, an all rugby league experience. Hello, welcome back to Big LEZ'S League, an all rugby league experience. I'm your host, Big Les. Make sure if you haven't already to subscribe to the YouTube down below. We are growing the Big LEZ'S League community, so make sure you become a part of it and subscribe. Also, make sure to follow all of the socials, which will be linked below in the description. So make sure you go ahead and follow all of those: Instagram, TikTok. We're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and make sure to get amongst all of those platforms. Let's get straight into it. Obviously, some big rumors coming out yesterday that Jayden, Brailey, and Daniel Saifiti have been told that they are free to negotiate for next year by the Newcastle Knights. Massive, massive move. Daniel Saifiti, look at the game that he had the other day. Jayden Brailey, you can somewhat understand. I mean, in Phoenix Crossland, you look at last year for him, he had a big year. Jayden Brailey's come off the back of two back-to-back ACLs also. Currently playing off the bench for Newcastle as well. They've got some really good young spine players as well that they want to bring into the team over the next few years. Jayden Brailey might not be in that 14 jersey for much longer now. It is a pretty tough call. He captained your side not only a year ago. He was the captain of your team, Jayden Brailey, and now obviously looking elsewhere. It is an absolutely huge call to make. But where does he end up, Jayden Brailey? That is what is going to be the interesting thing. What club needs a hooker right now? Well, there's one club that really stands out to me at the moment, and that is South Sydney. Losing Damien Cook next year, he'll be going to the St. George Illawarra Dragons. I think that it would be a great fit for Jayden Brailey. I think that he would go quite well there. Jayden Brailey's still quite young as well. Sort of getting to the peak of his powers. I believe he's still 27 years of age. So he's got plenty of time left. Hopefully those ACLs are well behind him now. Hopefully he can have a good rest of the season, play out the rest of the year. I'm sure that there'll be plenty of clubs that are interested in Jayden Brailey's signature, and I'm sure that Wayne Bennett would be keeping a little eye on him too, obviously after losing Damien Cook at the end of this season. There are rumours that South Sydney have already signed Jamie Humphreys. They haven't announced it yet, but it looks like it's confirmed on a 2 to 4 year deal. So apparently that signing has already happened, just hasn't been announced by the club yet. But yeah, look, I mean, Jayden Brailey, I think that he'd be a great guy with NRL experience to bring in. More experience than Humphreys. You'd want to gel Humphreys into first grade as well. You'd have a 9 to 14 of Brailey and Humphreys. Obviously, Peter Mamenzoulis, that does kick him back in the pecking order a little bit. Do South Sydney want to make that play and take that risk? I'm not too sure. But let's go down the ladder and just have a look at some teams here just to jot the memory and talk about Jayden Brailey, how he would fit into each of those teams. Would he fit into each of those teams? Melbourne, potentially at a 14 jersey. I just don't see it happening. I don't see him going somewhere to sit at 14. Panthers, same deal. You got Mitch Kenny there. Sharks, you got Blake Brailey. Obviously, Jayden Brailey started his career there. I don't know if he'd go back there to play 14, and Blake Brailey plays 80 minutes anyway. Roosters stands out to me. Whatever happens with this Brandon Smith situation, it looks like he's going to stay. But, if things turn and we get an unexpected leave, over the next few weeks, he could fit in there for sure. The Dogs, they've got Reid Marnie. The Dolphins, they've got Jeremy Marshall-King. The Cowboys, they've got Reece Robson. The Dragons have Damien Cook and Jacob Little. The Seagulls, that would be an interesting one. I don't know what's happening with Lachlan Croker at the moment. I don't know when he's expected to be back. Hopefully soon. Broncos, they've got Billy Walters there. Knights, obviously, that's the club we're talking about at the moment. Raiders, look, that could be an interesting one as well. They're sort of fighting between Danny Levi, Zach Wolford, who's obviously just come out of first grade yet again, and Tom Starling. So that would be interesting to add a fourth hooker to that discussion, but none of those guys seem to have locked down a spot. Jayden Brailey, if he gets back to form and puts the ACL behind him, he could potentially lock down a spot there. The Wars, I think the Warriors would be very interesting. Very, very interesting. I don't know how I feel about that one. I don't know if he will go. Obviously, Wade Egan, there's a bit of injury cloud around that one. Around him at the moment, he's been in and out of the side quite frequently. So does maybe a Jayden Brailey go there as some decent backup? I'm not too sure. Does he go there to play 14 or maybe even starting 9 with a Wade Egan at 14? I'm not too sure. Wade Egan's too good to be 14 though anyway, but Yeah, look, the injury cloud around Wade Egan at the moment is pretty. It's pretty high. It is pretty high. So maybe Jayden Brailey is the answer there. Rabbitohs we just spoke about. The Gold Coast Titans, they've got too many hookers. Parramatta is a really interesting one for me. I think they've been really needing an out-and-out starting first-grade hooker since Reid Marnie left. They have been struggling to find the right guy for that jersey. Joey Lussick, Brendan Hands, they've been fighting out for spots. You add Matt Arthur now to that equation as well. They've really struggled to find that guy. I think that Parramatta could be a great landing spot for him. And West Tigers, they've obviously got Api Coruscant. So the Roosters and the Parramatta Reels, they stand out to me the most. As for Daniel Saifiti, I mean, pretty much every club needs front rowers. South Sydney, we spoke about at the start, I think would be a great fit for him. You know, getting some front rowers, some premier front rowers into that side. I think Daniel Saifiti would fit very well in there. Roosters as well, just adding to that stacked forward pack would just be absolutely insane. I mean, they've got plenty of cap space. Bringing a guy like him into the equation as well after Jared leaves would be huge. Plenty, as I said, pretty much every club. Melbourne, I think, would be a great fit for Daniel Saifiti. And again, getting that real premier starting front rower after, the absence of Jesse Bromwich and Kenny Bromwich as well, getting some out-and-out starting forwards into that team, I think would be great. Daniel Saifiti would be a great fit at Melbourne, in my opinion. Even at the Panthers, I think he'd be good there. I could name every team from 1 to 17. I think Daniel Saifiti would fit very well into all of those rotations. Every side needs front rowers. You can never have too many front rowers in your rotation. I think that Daniel Saifiti would fit well anywhere. The only club I can really think of that probably doesn't need another forward is the Raiders. Other than that, I think any club could really take their, make a play for Daniel Saifiti. And I imagine a lot of clubs will make a play for Daniel Saifiti if this rumor is true. But huge to see that two of these guys are free agents potentially going into next year and have been told that they can negotiate with other clubs for next year. Daniel Saifiti's still got a contract until the end of 2026. So the fact that he's being told he can negotiate for next year and will be granted a release if he finds another deal is huge. And then for Jayden Brailey, you sort of get it. I mean, all the injury cloud, the back-to-back ACLs, he's not a starting hooker anymore. He's currently coming off the bench for Phoenix Crossland, which is huge, and only getting around 20 to 30 minutes, if that, a game. So, I think that's massive. It could be really interesting to see where he ends up. But yeah, Parramatta and the Roosters, they do stand out to me the most. Obviously, South Sydney, a big one as well. They do need a replacement hooker for Damien Cook. The reason for this reportedly was to free up some cap space. So I don't know who they're going for. I've heard a lot of rumors that Callum Ponga is talking to the Sydney Roosters. I don't know how true they are. But definitely going to get a lot of cap space if he walks out the door. But I imagine they might be making a big play just to keep him in the building. Potentially, is that reading a little too far into it, going too far down the rabbit hole? Maybe. We're literally talking about rumors about rumors. Here we're going into the fourth wall of a fourth wall. It really does get a bit too deep into the rabbit hole there. But look, it'd be interesting to see who they're going for to free up this cap space. Maybe it is just to re-sign the guys like Leo Thompson, who's now played for New Zealand. He's also one of the better front rowers in form in the competition when he's on. Just freeing up some cap space to re-sign some of these guys. They just re-signed, I think Tyson Gamble just re-signed with the club. They've just re-signed someone else as well. I'm struggling to think of it at the top of my head, but they are starting to re-sign a few guys. Maybe it is just to free up some cap space to give more money to those guys. And yeah, look, it'd be really interesting to see Phoenix Crossland become the full-time hooker there. And just so strange how Jayden Brailey can go from the captain of the team only a year ago to now having discussions where he could potentially be at another club going into next year. It is just so bizarre. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Obviously, subscribe to the YouTube. Make sure to go ahead and follow us on all of the socials. That is another edition of Rumour Mill, and we'll see you guys in the next one.